What's up, Mets fans? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here, letting you know. Coming up on this episode of the Bat Cave, I will be talking Sean Manaea, who has been pitching awesome for the Mets pretty much the last month and a half, 2 months. Also be talking David Stearns, and it's you can take a pretty good look at what he did this past offseason, his first offseason with the Mets organization. And you can kind of come up with a pretty good idea as to how he did so far with his first offseason with the Mets. Also, we'll be talking Mets schedule. Need to win these games here against the lesser opponents. We'll take a look at the standings, Pete Alonso comments, and Brandon Nimmo's struggles. So that and much, much more. So stay tuned for the Bat Cave. Get your comments ready. Get the popcorn ready. And stay tuned. I'll be returning in 50 seconds. Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. Woo! It's Hump Day, baby! Hump Day! Yeah! All right. You gotta kick your Hump Day off right, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta kick it off with a little bit of energy, a little bit of vigor, but piss and vinegar, they say, a little bit out. Yeah, there you go. One of those gimmicks. You know what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying. We got a comment here from our boy Paul Spencer saying, "What's up, Ken? Damn you Mets. You have one job, win, and they let him down." So Paul, on behalf of the New York Mets, I'd like to apologize to you and your parlay. They let you down. I know that. And for that, I sincerely apologize. All right. So, how's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody is doing well. Mets are kind of, it doesn't feel they're playing as good as they were throughout June and most of July. Feels like they're kind of spinning their tires a little bit right now. But that is what it is. The one part of it that's kind of a bummer is the teams that they're playing against right now. They need to get as many wins as possible, stockpile these wins, so they can afford to lose a game or two when need be, when they're facing some of the better teams that they'll be facing coming up here very shortly. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. Got another comment here from Joe Sullivan. What's up, Joe? You can check Joe out on the Soli Squad that was on actually last night. It was a special day last night. Usually it's on Mondays. So check Joe out there, talking all Philadelphia sports. And also bi-weekly on Tuesday nights with the MLB Extra Innings. I think it's called Extra Innings. I don't know why I throw the MLB in front. It sounds right. I don't know why, but it feels right. But they do Extra Innings. And that's bi-weekly. They'll return next week with Extra Innings. He and Cowboy Dave talking all of Major League Baseball. I don't know, Joe. Do you think your Phillies are turning it around right now? I don't know. I hope they are, because the last thing I want to do is see those jerk off Braves catch them. I do know that feeling as a Mets fan when you have the jerk off Braves catch up. I also know the feeling when you have the jerk off Phillies catching us. So They're either one's not good feelings, but I'd rather see the Phillies win than the Braves win. I hate the Braves. The Braves have a special kind of hate in my heart. They've had that there for a long time. So hopefully the Phillies turn it around here and start, playing like they did earlier in the season. It was bound to happen sooner or later. They're going to fall off the wagon a little bit. It happens to every team. It's a long ass season. Better now than in September for the Phillies or October, and but we'll see what happens. Another comment from College Football Frenzy at OOT Box Sports. That's CFF at OOT Box Sports. They return tonight. It's Hump Day, and guess what is back? Season 3 tonight. College Football Frenzy at 8:05 p.m. That is Paul Spencer, Bill Furman, talking all college football, not just one particular team. They do spread it out and talk about all different college teams, college conferences, whether it's a mega conference or a little baby conference. But they'll talk about all college football, big games, and big teams, not just one particular team. So, Bill Furman, the man is an encyclopedia for college football. So it's great to have him with Paul and Paul's sports knowledge. If you have seen the network, if you've seen Paul on these shows, he does a hell of a job. He knows his shit. So, all right. That returns tonight, 8:05 p.m. College Football Frenzy. Joel Sullivan said he's concerned about the Phillies still, but big win last night. They're playing the Dodgers right now. Big win. I don't think the Braves played last night, so that's a gain for the Phillies, a half game gain. So that's good there for them. Eileen, hello, Eileen. And it is, of course, Hump Day. You know what day it is, Eileen. It's Hump Day. All right. So Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea has been fantastic for the Mets recently. And for the most part this season, he's been, if you had to put it all together, he's been really good. There's been points of the season where he's been good. And there's been a small fraction of the season where he's been pretty bad. But then you're to this section of the season. Again, it's a smaller section. Well, actually, it's a decent sized section now. Looking at it, he's been really, really good. And I think he's everything the Mets hoped for and then some. To be 100% honest with you, so far this season, he's 8-4 with a 3.30 earned run average, 122 strikeouts, a WHIP of 1.18, which is good, very good, and that's through 120 innings pitched. So go ahead and looking at some of his other stats as well. I took a little screenshot there on my cellular telephone, so I can go ahead and go over some of these numbers, which I think are really telling of his season so far and what he's been able to do and been able to overcome. So last two starts, started a big game against St. Louis. Was it 2 days ago now? Yeah, 2 days ago. I think it was on Monday. Yeah, it was on Monday. He went 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, no earned runs, no runs at all, 0 walks, 10 strikeouts. The game before against a pretty good Minnesota team, 7 innings pitched again, 2 hits, no earned runs, no runs again, only 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. So through 2 games there, back-to-back games, both teams in the playoff hunt or in the playoffs if they were to end today. 14 innings pitched, 8 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 21 strikeouts from Sean Manaea. Fantastic. Now, the game before that, he only won 4 2/3 against the Yankees. He was against the pitch count. Pitch count was very high. He had a little bit of control issues there. But you look at before that, 5 innings pitched against the Marlins. That was a bit of a clunker. 7 innings against Colorado. Only gave up 3 earned runs. That's a quality start right there. Uh, Pirates, 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, only 2 hits. Against Washington, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 5 hits. Against the Yankees again. Before that, 5 innings pitched, no earned runs, 2 hits. Against the Rangers, 5 2/3, 3 earned runs. Against San Diego, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run. And then where am I at here? I lost it now. Against the Phillies, and he had back-to-back starts against the Phillies and the Diamondbacks before that were pretty rough. And ever since those 2 starts, he's had 1 clunker. That's it, and that was all the way back in June, early to mid-June. Those 2 starts were against Arizona and Philadelphia, and I think the one against Philadelphia, I'm pretty sure. I think that's one of the games in London. So he's been outstanding since then. Absolutely outstanding. Really, I has stepped forward and become our ace. For the most part of the season, people have been looking at Luis Severino as the guy that's been the ace of the Mets staff so far, and for the most part, he has. He's been definitely the workhorse. He puts up a lot of innings. But recently, it seems like he's also been giving up a decent amount of runs, and he's had some clunker outings where you see his ERA steadily starting to climb into the high 3s right now for Severino. But still, overall, he's been pretty steady throughout the season, so you can see why you'd call him the ace of your staff. But the way Minaya has been pitching as of late, getting his ERA all the way down to 3.30. I mean, for the most of the season, it was up in the mid to high 4s. Then you can slowly start seeing it creep down, start after start after start. So without Sean Manaea, the Mets would be in a really big hole right now, especially with Kodai Senga, waiting for him to come back. He comes back for that 1 start, strains his calf. He's out for the rest of the regular season. Christian Scott, not that he was putting out a whole bunch of quality starts, but he's putting out some decent starts there. The Mets weren't able to win those games at all. But he goes down with an injury. The inconsistency from Tyler McGill, so he's out of the rotation. David Peterson hasn't looked so bad. Early on in the season, Adrian Hauser looking terrible. The starting rotation for the Mets has been up and down for most of the season. So if you look at Sean Manaea's season so far, it's kind of very indicative of what the Mets rotation has been basically of the season. It's been somewhat even, their starting rotation, then it would drop, and then you get some high peaks, then back to even again, maybe a little drop, a little high peaks. It's kind of what Sean Manaea's season has been. Is exactly how the Mets starting rotation has been. Jose Quintana, he's had some really good starts. He had some really, really bad starts. And so it'd be nice if we can get all these guys to start clicking at once. Because if the Mets do make it to the playoffs, which right now they're sitting on the outside looking in, but pretty close. They're going to need at least 4 good starters, at least. To get them through, and the bullpen is no pillow to rest your head on. There's no comfort in the bullpen really. There are some guys that have pitched well in the bullpen, but then there's some guys where they're unreliable, and some injuries have happened, and some of these guys are coming back on their way back, so that's a positive. But the bullpen has been very much patchwork pretty much the whole season, trying to fit different pieces in different spots to see how they go, see how they mesh, see how they work. And at times it's worked, and at times it has not worked. But you need at least 4 solid starters, I feel like, to really feel good going into a series. All right, so you look at it right now, you have Sean Manaea, who the way he's pitching right now, you feel confident. You feel good about Sean Manaea. He's throwing strikes, striking people out, not giving up runs, and he's going deep into games. So that's shortening your bullpen, which is fantastic when you have a struggling bullpen, or parts of your bullpen that are struggling. Severino, Luis Severino, he's had moments this season where he's gone deep in the games, which shortens your bullpen. Hasn't not given up many runs. Goes very high pitch counts. I think he's on pace for the most innings pitched of his career this year. So that's good and bad because there has been moments where it's been brought up that his velocity, he's been losing some velocity, some zip on his fastball. Yesterday, pitching against the Rockies, he hit 98 on the radar gun a few times that I've seen. I either saw it while I was watching it or heard it when I was listening on the radio on the way into work. But so you have to really wonder about Severino heading later and later into the season, pitching more innings and more innings and more innings. Is he due for a breakdown physically? I hope not. But so who do you trust after that? The way for me right now, Luis Severino, I'm looking at like a 70-30 trust factor with him. I trust that he can get you a quality start. I feel 70% good about that. 30% bad. Right now, Shamanai, I feel like a good 85% to 15% that he can give you a good start. After that, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% confident in Quintana. I'm kind of 50-50 on him. He's pitched well as of late, but he's also laid some clunkers as well as of late. So it's been up and down. He did have a nice stretch of like 3 or 4 starts in a row where he was dominant, but you'd have 2 or 3 starts after that where not so much. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence in him. It's kind of 50-50. David Peterson. He hasn't looked terrible since coming off the IL. There's moments where he's looked really good. There's moments where he hasn't looked, all that great. But I wouldn't say there's been many moments where he's looked bad. So I would, if I would have to put a number to it, I'd say like a 60-40 for David Peterson. I feel 60% confident. I have 60% confidence in David Peterson as a starting pitcher. Is there a chance that we get Christian Scott back? Even if we did, I'd be like a 30-70 with him if we can get a good quality start out of him. So the pitching staff is kind of it's working right now, but it's barely working as a whole anyway. If we can get 2 or 3 guys really clicking together like we did actually in June. Severino was pitching well. Quintana was pitching well. Minaya started pitching well. Peterson coming off the IL was pitching well. Christian Scott had some okay starts there, and same thing led into July then. So if we can get back to that, I'd feel a little bit better because when you get to the playoffs, it's all hands on deck. You have pitchers pitching on 3 days rest and stuff like that, starting pitchers. So that's why I said 4 good starters, just in case, you go into a long series, a 7-game series, and you're already up 3 games to none. There's no reason to start your number 1 off of 3 days rest. You could give him another day's rest, bring it back with your number 4 starter, but then after that, bring your number 1 back after 4 days rest, almost regular rest, and see what he can give you. So. Paul Spencer says, leave my damn Braves alone. We're injured enough already. Not enough, Paul. Not enough. I'll take a few more injuries on the Braves there. I'm fine with that. So talking about this pitching staff, you have to kind of look at the architect of the pitching staff of this team, and that's David Stearns. It's his first season. He was hired in the offseason as the president / GM or whatever you want to call him of the New York Mets. And with it being such a long season, that's a good way to you can wait 3/4 of the way season and really get a large sample size and say, hey, you know what, he did a pretty good job, or he did a pretty crap job, or whatever. And I think I can look back on it now. I can anyway. This is all opinion based, uh, and I have nothing to really back it up on. No, like I don't have. I'm not going to go roll through a whole bunch of statistics or whatever, and start pointing stuff out, whips and RPOs and PP pluses and OPCD ones or something. Nothing like that. Nothing with a bunch of letters and numbers. I'm not going to start throwing stuff like that out there. But just a field test, gut test basically. But I feel like David Stearns, who I was kind of skeptical of, everybody was very high on David Stearns. He's the boy wonder, the boy genius, all that good stuff. He was a Mets fan supposedly and whatnot. So everybody was very high on him. A very hot commodity for other teams, very sought after, very high demand. This past offseason, a couple teams looking for his services. So the Mets were lucky enough to bring him in. And overall, I think he did really, really well this past offseason, patching together a Mets team with what he was given to work with. Now, I don't think Steve Cohen said to David Stearns, you have the full pocketbook here. Get what you got to get to make us a winner, a champion, or whatever. Get whatever commodities you think are going to put us over the hump into the playoffs and make us real true blue contenders. We know from last season's fire sale that that's just not simply true. From Scherzer and his fat mouth, blabbing to everybody about what was discussed with him in private after they kind of the Mets talked him into or kind of gave him the heads up, so he decided to waive his no trade clause or whatever it was. And Scherzer said that basically he was told that it's not win it's win for 2025, not so much 2024. But then you had Steve Cohen come out and talk to that point, kind of confirming but not confirming, saying, hey, we want to win every year. But the Mets will be putting a competitive team out on the field in 2024 that he expects to make the playoffs and, win. So it wasn't, we're just going to tank just for 2025. There's a lot of big contracts still on the books of from players that aren't with the team anymore, especially like Verlander and Scherzer. I do believe that their contracts are still on the books, and I think it's like $80 million just with those two guys. And they will be coming off the books, after the season's over. So, stuff like that, so you already have all that money on players that aren't even on the team anymore. There's a bunch of other ones too. I don't know, but those are the two big ones. And so David Stearns was kind of left with a limited. Uncle Steve opened the pocketbook, but he only opened it up a little bit. We heard in the offseason that there was a set number he couldn't go past. Whether or not that was true, we never got confirmation. We never saw anything besides his, mostly speculation. Whether or not he passed that, pretend number, magical number or not, I'm not really sure. We did go out and get, like JD Martinez and stuff like that, who we thought might have been out of our reach because of that, supposed number limitation that was set on David Stearns. But when it became evident that JD wasn't going to get what he wanted, he decided to settle with the Mets and go from there. So you look at some of the players that he was able to put together with limited resources or what have you, and I talked about this a lot actually in the offseason. I thought back then that he did a decent job. I kind of liked what he was doing, kind of bringing in, especially with the starting rotation, bringing in broken parts that at one time showed a lot of promise or were very good parts at one time in the very recent past. Not somebody that had a good season 6 years ago, but recent past. That's 2-3 years ago. were very good or had very good seasons, put together. And whereas last season, maybe not so much. And with that, one clunker season or two clunker seasons, they're those starting pitchers were not being looked upon very favorably by the teams that they're with or by other teams throughout the Major League Baseball. And so guys like that, I'm looking at Luis Severino, Sean Manaea. I would say Adrian Hauser, but he was a bit of a clunker, and he's not on the team anymore either. But guys like that for the starting rotation, Jose Quintana, he was already with the Mets. I don't think he was a free agent. I feel like we had maybe had a club option, or he was already signed through to the season. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, especially Sean Manaea and Luis Severino. Those two guys, have had success throughout their career, but the last season or two, not so much. So the Mets were able to get these guys short-term deals, team-friendly deals, and you know what? If they shit the bed, all right, they shit the bed. If the Mets shit the bed, and they're pitching okay you could trade them away at the trade deadline for some sort of possible I'm trying to think of what's the word I'm thinking of commodity. There's something that you could kind of build your farm system up with. You're not going to get anything great, but it would be something, and you never know. Sometimes there's a diamond in the rough, that you really don't understand, that nobody sees as being a top-notch or top-flight type player in the minor leagues, that you trade a mid-level starter for, that a team needs some more starting pitching help that might be in a playoff race. Well, okay, this guy was a 16th round draft pick or whatever. This outfielder, we don't care about him. He's not showing anything in high A or low A or whatever. Toss him off to the side, and all of a sudden a change in scenery, a little bit different coaching, maybe something clicks, and all of a sudden he's up with the big league roster, hitting 265 with 13 home runs and 60 RBI, or so, you know what I'm saying, something like that. Sometimes you'll find a polished turd out there, and it's good, but most times not. But with Stearns picking up Sean Manaea and Luis Severino, I felt like the Mets had nothing to lose. They had nothing to lose with it. It was, again, put out there about playing for 2025. So if the Mets did have a clunker of a season, it's not a big deal. You go and retool it again anyway, because they're all short-term deals. But it's turned out really well so far. Heading into the back half of the season here, with especially Severino and Sean Manaea. Again, like I said, Adrian Hauser didn't turn out so well for him. Jose Quintana is kind of in the mid somewhere. But for those guys, specifically Severino and Manaea, it's turned out well. They almost have had a bit of a resurgence in their career. Now, a lot of that's going to tell on how they finish the season off, how they're going to be viewed coming up in this offseason, where Severino is going to be a free agent, and Manaea has a player option coming up next season, so he'll probably end up being a free agent as well if he continues to pitch as well as he has, because he'll be looking for more money then. So just looking at starting pitching, I thought David Stearns did really, really well. Looking at the bullpen, I feel like he's done well, and it's not because of the guys that he had originally. It's because of the way he's been able to option guys up, option guys down, DFA guys, cut the fat when he had to, and stuff like that. The way he's been able to patch, move guys around, bring this guy in, then drop that guy down, bring this guy in, drop that guy down. He's worked the options really, really well between AAA and the Major League club. And he's also, like I said, he's cut the fat when he had to. He's DFA guys. All right, this isn't going to work. See you later. DFA him. They go through waivers. Contract's not offered or whatever. They don't accept whatever it is. They get cut, and that's it. Then next man up. I thought he's done a really good job with that. And then there's been some guys that he did bring in through the bullpen this season that have stuck, that have pitched well. You know, Jake Diekman obviously has not, but you know, the guy on IR right now, or IL, Deadnell. That's hard for me to say. Deadnell Nunez. He's pitched really well. You know, he's been a little bit of a diamond in the rough. Reed Garrett, Sean Reed Foley. You know, he kind of showed a little bit of faith and trust in those guys. Both again IL guys, but they didn't disappoint either. Now who else here? I'm missing somebody big. Jose Budo, with him bringing Jose Budo up and putting Jose Budo in the bullpen. So far, has turned out to be a brilliant move. Jose Budo has been fantastic out of the bullpen so far. Now, I'm sure Jose Budo wants to be a starter still, so I wouldn't expect next season Jose Budo out of the bullpen. I would expect next season Jose Budo possibly in the rotation. That's where I would think that we would end up seeing Jose Budo next season. But just to make that call, is I thought was fantastic. Who else do we got? Showing the faith he has in Edwin Diaz as well. There was talk or midway through the season when Edwin Diaz was blowing a bunch of saves. Send him down to the minor leagues or take him out of the closer role, which they did for like a game or two, but then he was right back in it. To kind of show that faith, saying, "Hey, you are our closer. You're our closer of the future. We have faith in you." And I feel like Edwin Diaz has pitched really, really well last month and a half since coming back from that suspension, at least. Even before since coming back off the IL, that suspension notwithstanding, since coming back up from the IL, where he rested his arm, his shoulder, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was exactly that was bothering him, but rested that a little bit and came back, and since then he's been pitching really well. So I got a couple more comments here from the Back It Up Binge podcast. To me, the most frustrating Met this season is Alonso, walk year, and not tearing up the stat sheet. Yeah, I'm going to get to Pete in a little bit. I'm a big Pete Alonso fan, so I'm a Pete Alonso backer, I guess you would say. I defend Pete a lot, and I get it. I absolutely, I'm going to get into it now. The hell with it. So I've always defended Pete Alonso on here, and I'll continue defending Pete Alonso on here. So when it comes to contract stuff, I get it. This is his walk year. This is a show me year. This is a prove it year, whatever you want to call it. But I like to look at it as a whole. I mean, I don't know why. I get it. He is, I guess he's 30 years old, 30, 31, something like that. You don't have a whole lot of time left, for, take a chance on me kind of thing with a long-term contract. Because you give him a long-term contract, now you're the back half of that contract, you're heading into mid to late 30s. And, usually you see a very large drop-off in stats to begin with. But looking, again, you throw this stat out here, as a Mets fan, you've heard this stat a million gajillion times, especially the last two seasons. Pete Alonso has the most home runs throughout Major League Baseball since being brought up in 2019. It's not that gap has been closing. I believe it's Shohei Ohtani that's right behind him. I could be wrong about that. I think it's Shohei Ohtani. That's right behind him. Or no, it's Aaron Judge. I'm sorry, it's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is right behind him. And it's Aaron Judge is gaining on him. It's only a handful of home runs behind Pete now. But I like looking at it as a whole. I mean, year in and year out, the guy puts up 40 plus home runs, 100 plus RBI, 110 plus RBI, even a couple seasons, I believe 120 plus RBI. Last season, career worst. Batting average, I think, was 217. He's turned that around. He's hitting 240, 241, something like that. Still below his career average. But the biggest thing with Pete Alonso is there's been a drop-off in power. Sitting at, I think, 23, 24 home runs right now. He's on pace for 33 home runs. So there's been a drop-off in power, run production. His batting average with runners in scoring position has been atrocious this year. With runners in scoring position, he's hitting 198 with 331 on base and a 359 slug, which leads to a 690 OPS. Which for your number 4 hitter, 3-4-5 hitter, that you're not. It's not going to get it done. I get it 100%. But he's on pace this year for 33 home runs, a 464 slug, 790 OPS, which are all career lows for Pete Alonso. So it's hard for me to say, just, ditch the guy. I see a lot of people, Mark Vientos, is going to, supplant Pete Alonso. You don't need Pete Alonso because you have Mark Vientos. There's no sample size for Mark Vientos. This is our sample size this season for Mark Vientos. So, all right. So Mark Vientos is going to take over for Pete Alonso. We don't need Pete Alonso. We don't need Pete Alonso's power because we got Mark Vientos. All right. Next season, Mark Vientos. Let's say Mark Vientos finishes up this season with 25 to 28 home runs. I don't know if he'll get there or not, but let's say he does. It's a shortened season too for him. He didn't come up, till I think May sometime. And even then, it was kind of he wasn't starting every game. So let's say he finishes the season off 25 to 28 home runs. All right. So now next season he comes in and he's back to old Mark Vientos and he hits 14 home runs, 15 home runs. So he's back down to minor leagues. Now we're back to the whole Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos thing, and there's no Pete Alonso for any power. So now we're relying mostly on our power from Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. And I don't know if JD Martinez is going to stick around. I would guess if you don't re-sign Pete, you look to re-sign JD Martinez. I don't know. And again, I'm a Pete Alonso backer, but I do understand the frustration. I'm frustrated as well, but I'm not going to sit there and say I want to throw away a guy whose worst season is 33 home runs. That's the man's worst season is 33 home runs. I'm not going to throw that away. That's hard to replace, and it's. And there's still a chance that he could reach 40 home runs. I mean, we've seen it as Mets fans. We've seen Pete Alonso go on tears throughout months. We haven't seen it this year, and that's been the biggest problem. And I mentioned it on my last show where I think it was on my last show. It was either on my last show or another Mets podcast where he hasn't had that tear yet. And that's one of the reasons why his power numbers have been down where for a month, 2 months, he would get hot. He'd end up hitting, 10, 12 home runs in a month, maybe even more, and, knocking a ton of runs and stuff, where we haven't seen that. I don't think he's hit more than 5 or 6 home runs in a month this year, which is awful for him for a full season so far. For a couple months, that's all right. Then you have a big month, 2 big months, and that kind of rubs away the lesser months. So now with the rest of August to go yet, September and a little bit of October, who's to say that Pete doesn't have, the rest of this month, a big month, 10 plus home runs, goes in next month, has almost 10 home runs. Who's to say he doesn't do that? He ends up with 40 home runs. We know he's capable of doing it. Watching him bat, I don't know exactly what the issue is. I know I have my thoughts on it. I think he's looking to pull the ball more. He's pressing. He's looking to hit the home run more. He is looking to hit the ball in the gap. So when he's swinging, he's pulling everything up and off of the pitch, and he's missing those sliders that end up breaking 4, 5, 6 inches off the plate. That's what it looks like to me. But any kind of breaking ball, he's been struggling with, and I don't know. You get every pitch. It seems like he's struggling with that. I look back at it, he'd get a fastball down the heart of the plate, and he pops it up. Or if he does make a contact with a hanging breaking ball, it's a double play ball. I get the frustration. I don't know exactly how to fix it because I'm not a professional hitting coach. I'm not a professional anything. To be honest with you. But I know I have my thoughts on it. I would not throw away 33 home runs. I would be frustrated with Pete knowing what he has in him. He's clearly frustrated. That's something I want to talk about. Was he was getting a ton of hate, an absolute ton of hate from Mets fans, Mets media, New York media, Mets podcasters for his recent comments. He was dropped down in the lineup from 4 to 5. The first time he was dropped below the 4 spot since 2020. So here's the quote. I'm going to go ahead and read it off. I wrote it down. The Pete Alonso quote, he was asking about being dropped down in the lineup, and he said, I'm on pace for almost 40 home runs, which, again, he's on pace for 33, but whatever. I mean, we all don't math very good. So I'm on pace for almost 40 home runs. I was an all-star this year. To beat myself up or be frustrated, it's really no use. I'm really excited for the end of the year when we get to play winning baseball. I'm happy with what I've accomplished this year so far, and I think that there's definitely going to be some opportunities that I'm looking forward to capitalize on. So the second half of the quote is what you should be saying. First half of the quote, I understand why people may be frustrated with it, but I clearly think that's a man that is frustrated. That's a man that's frustrated with himself. That's a man that's frustrated with the media. That's a man that's probably more than likely frustrated with the fan base. He's hearing from everybody. He goes home, the wife is yelling at him, Pete, 3-2 slider outside, you're swinging at it. Why are you swinging at that pitch, Pete? It's 6 inches outside. He's like, yes, dear. Sorry, dear. And she's like, Pete, how come you're not hitting home runs? Pete, where's the long ball at? Chicks dig the long ball. Sorry, dear. The mailman comes by. Pete, you didn't hit a home run. You didn't knock in RBI. Pete, you left 3 runners stranded on second base. What are you doing? And all of a sudden, the milkman, he goes, Pete goes to buy a gallon of milk at the grocery store. He goes to pay, $6 for a gallon of freaking milk now. He goes to pay for it in quarters and stuff. And then the grocery store guy's like, Pete, over the last 21 and with runners in scoring position. What are you doing? So he's clearly frustrated. I get it. It's a bad look. If you've seen the interview, you see his body language. Obviously, he's frustrated, and it's not a good look for him. But I tend to give guys, professional athletes that are struggling, that are not used to struggling this badly. I tend to give some of those guys a pass. They're getting pressure from everywhere. They're pressing. They're trying to. They don't want to be playing like crap. Is what I'm getting at. They want to be doing good. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure it out on the fly as well, and it's just not working out. So they're hearing it from everybody. They're hearing it from everybody, and this here is why I think Pete Alonso, if he was going to leave the Mets, this is why I think he would leave the Mets. And I think I could see Pete Alonso in a smaller market then. Big fish, little tank. Some people need that. I'm not saying Pete needs that, but he may need that. Smaller market, media is not as visceral. Smaller market, maybe the fan base isn't as visceral. A couple big words there, visceral. How about that? I don't know if I used them right, but they're there. They're out there now. So this is the one reason I could see Pete walking. I still believe, deep down, I still believe that the Mets re-sign Pete. I don't think Pete will get what Pete wants, and I think he'll be out there in the market for a while, and I think he'll realize he's not going to get what he wants with who he wants, and I think he'll end up re-signing, but we'll have to wait and see. I have a hard time seeing Pete in a different uniform. Some people have floated out Tampa Bay recently. One, because Pete's a Florida guy, and two, the Rays, they dumped some assets this offseason. So they do have some money and the new ballpark. I don't know if they started that yet or not or whatever. But if I'm Pete Alonso, Tampa Bay is one of the last places I would go. Tampa Bay, Miami, A's, some of those places that don't draw I wouldn't want to go there at all. But I'm not Pete Alonso either. But thanks for checking in. Thanks for commenting. We have a couple more. Elton Taylor checking in. What's up, Elton? Thanks for checking out the show. Thank you for commenting. Hello. Keep them rolling in. Keep those comments rolling in on anything. Anything you want to talk about, anything you want to throw out there, whether it's baseball related or not. You want to talk love? I'll talk love. I'm the love doctor. Cowboy Dave checking in. What's up, Cowboy Dave? The showstopper. You can check Dave out tonight, I believe, 9:30 p.m. I think it's tonight, or was that last night? I think it's tonight. Dem 215 boys talking Dallas Cowboy football. Next Tuesday, you'll have Dave. No, actually, I don't know. Was it last night or was it? I don't know. Anyway, also extra innings. Extra innings. Dave does that show talking Major League Baseball with Joel Sullivan, and of course the Atomic Drop podcast with myself, Adam the Answer Glenn, and our newest co-host Kurt McGirt, talking WWE wrestling. That's every Saturday, Friday or Saturday. We would kind of switch it on and off. This week we'll be doing Friday at 10:30 p.m. I'm not sure if I will be on, but the show will be on this Friday at 10:30 p.m. talking WWE wrestling. Dave says, morning, big man. I see the Mets are still a game and a half out of the wild card spot. They better pick it up. Losing to the Rockies, not a good thing. Suck it, Dave. I know you're rubbing it in. I still say Diaz is the best closer in the game. He's getting better. He is getting better. Watching him pitch the other night against St. Louis, and granted it was a 6-0 lead. He looked sharp. I thought his breaking stuff looked good. Fastball. I don't think it still doesn't look as electric as it did back in 2022, but it's looking better. So he's getting there. Back it up. The Back It Up Binge podcast. So real quick, Back It Up Binge podcast. If you do a show, if you want to throw out your time, where we can watch you at. I don't know if you're an all Baltimore Orioles podcast or not, but if you want to throw that out there, go ahead and I'll read it off here. See if we can get you some viewers. Like, follow, subscribe. Out of the Box Sports if you want. Go ahead, like, follow, subscribe. Go ahead and Back It Up Binge podcast. Why not, right? Help a brother out. Says, I like Pete a lot. Just wish he batted 20 points higher, a few home runs more, and the Mets would benefit that much more. Kingman too. Yeah. So with the 20 points higher, absolutely. And I think it was a 2022. I think it was 2022. He batted like in the 260s. I think it was. Awesome there. He was awesome there. 40 plus home runs. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think he had 120 RBI that season. Fantastic. I'm not hating Pete at 240. I think before the season started, I said I'd like to see Pete 250 to 260 batting somewhere in there. I'd still like to see that, but it's all the other parts of it that have been frustrating. It's the lack of production with the runners in the scoring position. Obviously, 198 is not going to get it done, and it's been the power. I'll be honest with you, like you expect it. I don't know about other Mets fans, but I know every time I see Pete Alonso get up, especially yesterday. It happened yesterday. I think the Mets were down. Were they down 2-0? I think they were down 2-0. Pete got up with runner on. I think it was. Who was it? Was it? I don't think it was Martinez. Was it Taylor? Or no, not Taylor. It was yesterday, so it was maybe it was Nimmo. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think it was yesterday. He got up, and I'm just sitting there waiting, like, all right, he's going to hit a home run here and tie it up. And I think he struck out. It's kind of like it's just over and over and over again. But again, I'm not giving up on Pete. I have faith in Pete, and I still feel like this season he still can turn it around and still have big numbers. And again, like I said, I mean, every other, mostly every other fan base, would still be frustrated, but I wouldn't see any other fan base looking to throw away 33 home runs. I just have a hard time with that so much. Just even thinking about it, it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah. So looking at the Mets standings right now, Cowboy Dave brought it up about the Mets being a game and a half out. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the NL East standings first. You have Philly in first at 67 and 46. They're 3-7 in their last 10. Then you have the Braves sitting behind them at 60 and 52, 6.5 games back. They were able to take advantage a little bit of the Philly slide, but the Braves haven't been playing the best ball either, so they haven't been able to take full advantage. If they were able to take full advantage of the Philly slide like they did against the Mets in 2022, I think you'd have a lot of angry cheesesteaks right now. Philadelphia would be oozing whiz right now if the Atlanta Braves were able to catch up to them, but the Braves have stalled out. The Mets 59-54, 8 games back, 4-6 in their last 10. Had a terrific June, had a good July. August not starting off the best. Washington's 52-62, 15.5 games back, 4-6 in their last 10. I want to say about Washington real quick. Travis Blankenhorn. If you're a longtime fan of the Batcave, I've brought that name up a bunch when he was a Met in the Mets farm system. Travis Blankenhorn. He went to my alma mater. He's a local kid, and he's getting a shot with the Nats. He's been up as I guess he's been up on the main roster now for about a week. Last night he was 0 for 3, but he did have 2 RBI, a couple ground outs with a runner on third. The runner's able to score. A couple days ago he had a couple RBI. I think he had a 2-run double. I think it was. So good for Travis. Happy for Travis Blankenhorn. I wish he would have gotten a chance with the Mets. I said it over and over again. If he could just get some games under his belt, I feel like he could do some pretty good things. But it wasn't to happen. It wasn't in the cards for him with the Mets. And last year, I think it was at the right. I think it was right before or right after the All-Star. I think it was right after the All-Star break. He got into a game. No, it was right after the trade deadline. That's what it was. He got into a game and was 0 for 3 or 0 for 4, and then they DFA'd him or cut him or whatever it was, and he ended up getting picked up by Washington. So good luck to Travis. Hopefully he keeps doing well, knocks in those runs, and the power will come. I think he was like top 5 in AAA, in the Eastern League or whatever the hell it's called, in home runs. I think he had 24, 25 home runs so far this season in AAA for Washington, for their AAA team, the Red Wings. I'm not sure what the town name is. It's something with an R. I think it's out of New Jersey. The Miami Marlins sitting in the basement there in the NL East at 42-72, 25.5 games back. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Looking at the wild card, this is where the Mets need to be focusing, not worrying about the Phillies there in the East. We had our chance to make a run at the Phillies and we actually made up a good bit of ground, but just it's kind of stalled out now. So right now San Diego has been super hot. They're playing really well, especially since the trade deadline. They're sitting at 62-52. They are now holding that number 1 wild card spot. They're holding at a +1 over the Braves, who have the 3rd wild card spot. The last 10 for San Diego, they're 8-2. Arizona, they're playing really well right now as well, 61-52, plus half a game over the Braves. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Then you have the Braves holding that final wild card spot at 60-52, 6-4 in their last 10. The Mets are right behind them, a game and a half behind them, 59-54, 4-6 in their last 10. Then you have the Cardinals. So it was a big win the other night for the Mets over the Cardinals. In that one game, finished the series game. It was a rainout game. Cardinals are 58-56, 3 games back, so the Mets are a game and a half up on them. A little bit of space there. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Pittsburgh cooled off a little bit. They were hot there for a bit. Got back into the race. They're kind of falling back a little bit now. They're sitting at 500, 56-56, 4 games back, 4-6 in their last 10. San Francisco starting to get a little bit hot, 57 and 58, 4.5 back, 7-3 in their last 10. Cincinnati 55 and 58, 5.5 back, 5-5 in their last 10. And the Cubbies 56 and 66 games back, 6-4 in their last 10. And the Mets aren't out of it. A game and a half back. I still have a lot of faith in them. If we can get Brandon Nimmo going again, I think great things are going to happen. He's been really, really struggling. In the month of July, he hit 188 in July with 607 OPS, 3 home runs, 15 RBIs. He had a really, really bad month in July. It's kind of carried over a little bit now into August. So if we can get Nimmo going, and Lindor stays playing the way he's been playing the last couple of games, he hasn't looked all that great. But if he continues playing the way he has the whole season, I think the Mets are going to be awesome. I'm still waiting for more power from JD Martinez. He's played well for the Mets. He's hitting 260 something, home runs in the teens somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, like 14 or 15 or something. I don't know. I'm still waiting for a little bit more power from him. But he's done some pretty good things. Francisco Alvarez has been struggling. It'd be nice if he can get on track a little bit. But again, back to David Stearns, some of his pickups. What the hell's his name? I just had a brain fart. I can't think of his name now. Damn it. I can picture him. The little bastard. I don't want to look it up because I know I have it on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to have to look it up. As soon as I see it, I'm going to be mad. But yeah, the back end of the Mets lineup, Jeff McNeil's been hitting much better. I thought I would get it there. After I said Jeff McNeil, I'm like, I'm going to say it. No, I can't say it. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna be really pissed. Harrison Bader. Damn it! It was there. I had it. Harrison Bader, I thought has had a really good season for the Mets. Our boy Yuki Matsui checking in. What's up, Yuki? Let's fucking go, Mets. You're right. Yes, sir. If Pete Alonso stays cold, then the Mets are not going anywhere. That's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. Oh, hell yeah. Yuki, I didn't know you're a wrestling fan. You got to check out our wrestling show, the Atomic Drop Podcast. It'll be on this Friday at 10:30 p.m. Not sure if I will be on it this week or not because I will be away, but we'll see what happens. Luis Torrens, he's played well since the Mets brought him up, since they got him from the Yankees, catching. Especially recently, Alvarez has been a little bit banged up. Alvarez has not been playing all that well at the plate. Hitting. Alvarez, getting a little tongue-tied here. Alvarez has not been hitting all that well recently, so it's good to have somebody like Luis Torrens there backing him up. And I'll say Jose Iglesias. That's been a big one as well. He's been a spark plug the whole season, basically, I feel like. But for me, Harrison Bader has been one of the nicer pickups that Stearns did this year. He doesn't walk a ton, but it seems like he comes up with a lot of big hits. And I don't know what it is. I really enjoy watching him hit the ball. It seems like every hit he has is like a really hard hit, line drive, somewhere in the outfield. I think it was yesterday he did have a little bloop over. I think it was over the shortstop's head, which isn't indicative of usually what you see from Harrison Bader, but we'll take it anyway. But I feel like Harrison Bader has had a really good season. And back to Alonso staying cold. I mean, he's cold-ish. I guess you'd say, power-wise, cold, runners in scoring position, cold. But he's still getting base hits, just with nobody on base, or when it doesn't matter. So still chasing bad pitches though. I mean, I'm really bummed out about it because I am a big Pete Alonso guy. But I also, first and foremost, I'm a Mets fan. I'm not, that's what it's about. It's about the Mets. And if it's not going to be Pete, the Mets feel like David Stearns and Uncle Steve feel like that it's not going to be that Pete Alonso's time is up as a Met, then so be it. I'm a Mets fan. I'm not a just a singular player. I will still root for Pete Alonso, but I hope it doesn't come to that. I really don't. But first and foremost, it's about the blue and orange, and then it's about the name on the back. Name on the front, most important. Name on the back, second most important. The numbers, third important. I could care less about the numbers. All right. So I believe that's all I have for today. A couple another note here. The Mets lost their first series since the end of June. The other day when they lost 2 out of 3 to the goddamn Angels. That's what I want to talk about. I have the schedule written down here. They got to win these games against the teams that are just the bottom dwellers, the bikini bottom feeders, the guys, the ghosts, the ghouls, and the sellers. We got to beat these teams. We got to take as many games from these teams because from everything that I've heard, I didn't really look ahead to September's schedule, but September's going to be rough. Games against Braves, games against Phillies. I don't think we have the Dodgers. I'm not sure. We'll worry about that when we get to that. But looking at the rest of this month of August, we have 2 more against Colorado. We got to win both of those games. 3 at Seattle. Seattle's 59-55, so Seattle is the Mets right now. Then we have 3 versus Oakland. Come back home. We play Oakland. Got to win all 3 of those. Have to win all 3 of those. Anything less than a sweep is not acceptable. 3 versus Miami. We always struggle with the Marlins for some reason. Got to win that series. Then 3 versus Baltimore. 67-47 Baltimore sitting at. That's going to be rough. That's going to be a rough one. Then we have 4 at San Diego. This is what, excuse me very much. This is where the rubber is going to meet the road, in my opinion, for the wild card is at the end of the month, where we play Baltimore, San Diego, Arizona, especially San Diego and Arizona. Those 2 series there are going to be huge, especially with the way San Diego and Arizona have been playing. If the Mets are able to stay close and then get to these 2 series, they have to win these series. They have to win these series. They have 4 at San Diego. And again, they're sitting, what did I say? It was 1.5 out of the last spot. Yeah, they're 1.5 out of the last spot. So that means they're 2.5 out from the number 1 spot, where San Diego's sitting right now. So they need to win that series. They need to take 3 out of 4 versus San Diego. They absolutely need to take 2 out of 3 versus Arizona, who's right behind San Diego. I have to. If they go out there and they lay a brick against San Diego, they lose that series. If they split that series, all right. But I don't want to say it's a must-win, but we'll see where we're at when we get to that series. We have a couple series in between. Like I said, Colorado, 2 more yet. Seattle, Oakland, Miami, Baltimore. Need to pile those wins up and see where we're at against San Diego. I don't want to say it's a must-win right now, but once we get closer to that series, they might be must-wins. So then 3 at Arizona, and then we finish up the month and start the next month off with 3 at the Chicago White Sox. And we all know the White Sox just got done losing 21 in a row before winning last night against the Oakland Athletics. So I got to pile up these wins. Absolutely got to pile these wins. Did you talk about the trade deadline yet? If no, then did the Mets do enough? I did talk about it last week, and it's kind of funny you bring that up, Yuki Matsui. I was thinking after the show, I'm like, you know what? Yuki Matsui didn't check in at all. Actually, I was on last Thursday, I think it was, with the Batcave. So I've been struggling a little bit with my podcasting. I've been struggling with my sleep because of night shift, and it's a lot easier when the kids are in school. It's easier for me to stay awake longer in the morning. But when they're out of school, like right now, I'm tired when I get home, and nobody has to be up, so I just kind of hang out, and then about a half hour later, I'm out like a light, and then I end up waking up at like 11 or 12, and it's like, God damn it, I missed the show, and I'm going to bed and all that good stuff. So, but anyway, I did talk about the trade deadline last week. And I don't know if they did enough, but I did exactly what I thought. Not exactly. I did what they thought they did what I thought they would do. I didn't think they were going to go out there and try to get any big names. If they were, they weren't going to overpay for them. It was going to have to be at a deal on that was going to it was going to have to be on a deal that would be beneficial for the Mets, meaning they wouldn't give up big name prospects. And I don't think they should right now. I feel like they're building their farm system up nicely. They have a lot of nice commodities down there in the farm system. And there's some guys that I really want to see in a Mets uniform. I want to see, is the hype for real? And so either this offseason or next year's trade deadline is where I would expect to see some of those bigger names, if they're not up with a major league club, possibly getting traded off. So, but this offseason, I didn't think I said it a bunch of times on the show, Yuki, and I'm sure you probably heard it, where I said the Mets were built to be sellers this year at the trade deadline, especially if they weren't going to be in the race. And that was the caveat to that if they weren't going to be in the race, that they were built to sell, meaning they had some starting pitching arms that could look attractive to other teams if those guys were pitching decent enough. And at the trade deadline, those guys were pitching decent. It was just happened to be the Mets are really into they have themselves entrenched in the wild card race here, engorged, if you will, in the wild card race. So I never I do believe I mentioned it. I could be wrong there. That I mentioned that I did not think at all that they'd be looking to go any blockbuster type trade or anything like that. Just because that was the feeling that I got coming into the season. What they did in the offseason, kind of leading into the season, they weren't out there trying to sign the big name guys. They were out there looking for team friendly deals, basically on guys that other teams have given up on. I talked about that earlier in the show with guys like Luis Severino and Sean Manaea. Teams gave up on them. They had success in the past, but the recent past, not so much. The Mets say, hey, we'll take a flyer. These are team-friendly deals here. Let's see if you can revitalize your career. Kickstart your career again. So, and it's worked out well. So, and so yeah. What else was I gonna say? I guess I lost my train of thought there. So yeah, so they did what I thought they would do, just not exactly how I thought it would go. And I do think they did enough, to be honest with you. They did get starting pitching help. We'll see what Blackburn, see how he pans out through the rest of the season. One start down, he pitched well. All right. Stanek, he's been out there a couple times. I think he's laid one clunker, but he's also been out there a couple times and he looked good. There was that one outing that he came in on, and I thought he looked good, but you take away, he looked good if you take away that Pete Alonso error to him, and then right after that was a walk, and I think there was a borderline pitch that could have went either way, could have been a strike, could have been a ball. So it was kind of like he kind of got the raw deal there. So. But I feel like overall, Stanek hasn't looked all that bad. Phil Maton, I haven't seen Maton pitch yet. Again, I watch as much as I can with the Mets. I do miss a little bit, either with my kids' sports or I'm trying to give my wife full 100% attention when she's talking to me. So I do miss that. Or sometimes, like last night, I was able to listen. I was able to watch a little bit of the game, but then I had to listen to a little bit of the game on my way to work. And then once I get to work, it's a no-go for a little while. So until I get the break, I can kind of go back and check it out, what I missed. But I haven't really seen Maton pitch at all. Yet to really to pass judgment on him and give you my thoughts on that. But they needed bullpen help. They needed starting pitching help, and that's what they did. I don't think we picked up any bats. Did we? Off the top of my head, I can't think of. I'm not sure. What would you do when Marte returns? Do you give Marte all the games or split time 50-50 with Winker? Thank you, with Winker. I felt like we got a bat, but I couldn't think of his name. Jesse Winker. That was the biggest name that we picked up. And that wasn't a bad pickup. It's somebody that can provide pop. Unfortunately, he's was he a better hitter against righties than lefties? So you're only going to see him, against one side than the other side. So that's a bit of a bummer there. But when Marte comes back, that's exactly what I would do. 50-50 time, because if you give him all the games, he's just going to get hurt again. It's and I said that this offseason they should have looked to move Marte. He's an injury risk, and it's just been the same. When healthy, he's very, very good. But you can't get the guy healthy. So, I would absolutely split it 50-50 with Marte. Should the Mets move Sevy to the bullpen? No, I think they leave Severino right where he's at. He gives you a ton of innings. If anything, I would say maybe start scaling back his innings a little bit to see if you can rest him. Maybe even I don't want to say skip a start. Maybe somehow skip a start. His start a little bit. Give him an extra day's rest every once in a while. That's one of the things I think was that really hurt with the Senga injury. Is we were all set up for all right, this is what it's going to look like for a 6-man rotation, and Scott gets hurt, Christian Scott gets hurt, then Senga gets hurt. Now all of a sudden that's out the window, and Severino's still pitching crazy innings. And I feel like he's been struggling a little bit lately, these last few starts, but still putting up a decent amount of innings. So it's kind of like, what do you do? But I don't think you move Sevy to the bullpen at all. He's basically your number 2, right? Right now, if Wayman is pitching, all season he's been your ace, even though it didn't seem like a prototypical type ace. Last Thursday, Batcave was not listed on your YouTube channel. I'll have to go back and look. I could have swore I was on last week. Maybe I wasn't on last week, but I know I talked about the trade deadline. I remember, going through my notes and stuff. I'll have to go back and look. I'll let you know, Yuki. I'll send it to you somehow. All right. So that's what we got for the rest of August. Especially the second half of August is going to be pretty big. All right. That's all I have for today. I'm going to go ahead and do our sponsor read here before I jet out, because our sponsor read is important, because Jason Fine, attorney Big Al, is very, very important. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. Then in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the phone number there is 267-888-2980. Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. And remember, quick programming note, tonight is the night. College football frenzy for all you college football fans. Check it out tonight, Wednesday, August 7th, 8:05 p.m. Be there or be square. Season 3 with hosts Bill Furman and Paul Spencer. Only on Out of the Box Sports Network, Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch. I did have a comment from a Twitch follower, but the comment was spam, so I'm not going to put it up there. Talking about how to get the best viewers And I mentioned it on my show yesterday. The Silver and Black Layer LA Kings edition. Here at Out of the Box Sports, we will not buy any viewers. That's just not who we are. Every viewer we have, right now we have 46 live viewers, are earned. Whether you like watching me struggle to figure out a name, or you think what I have to say is insightful or moronic, you're earned and you're appreciated. So thank you to those viewers right now. Thank you to everybody that commented on the show. I appreciate it very much. Yuki Matsui, Paul Spencer, the Back It Up Binge podcast. Hopefully they comment again. I'd like to get their podcasting information out there, if they're a podcast or not. It looks like they might podcast the Baltimore Orioles. You can see the little baseball there in the hat. Elton Taylor, thank you for commenting. Of course, Eileen, thank you for commenting. Cowboy Dave, thank you, sir. And like I said, Paul Spencer. Our boy Joel Sullivan checking in. All right. So thank you, everybody, for checking the show out. I appreciate it. And like I said, Yuki Matsui, just like Eileen, been here pretty much since day one. So, all right. I will check you guys out again next Wednesday. You can check me out this Friday, 10:30 p.m., the Atomic Drop podcast, talking WWE wrestling. I may be on. I'm not really sure yet. We're going away for the next couple of days out in Ohio. So if I get a chance, I will hop on with that. If not, you'll have Paul, Dave, I'm sure Adam, and newest member, Kurt McGirt. Best name there in podcasting. So if I will not be on then, I will be on next Monday, Silver and Black Layer, Las Vegas Raiders edition. That'll be next Monday, 10 a.m., talking Raider football. And then, of course, return next Wednesday morning, 10 a.m., to the Bat Cave. All right. So until then, let's go Mets. Let's go Pete Alonso, for the love of God. I'm sick of hearing about the hate on Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez. If we get those guys clicking, it's going to get a lot of wins. All right. Tune in next Wednesday, 10 a.m., same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you, everybody. And like I said before, let's go Mets. Cheers.